Thank you. Councilwoman Chamberlain-Kranga.
Thank you, and thank you, Director Gould, for this. So I'm a swimmer, I use TFAC, so I read the report with great interest. So a couple of questions, and then if I have time, share a little bit of just briefly my thoughts or some opinions. So the first question is, it looks like the consultant just came in January 2024, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so they weren't here in the summer. To what extent did global management, did they involve the users? If they weren't here in the summer, was there any way that they got any resident input when they were looking at, say, these hours, which I have some of my opinions on as a working person, passes, the rentals, Harvey theme, kind of potential name change? Was there any initial feedback, or is that something envisioned for the future?
That's something that he said would be looked at in the future if we decided to rename the facility or add new amenities. We would want to do engagement with the public. Okay. So this is just a basic, it would be more involved if we were going to go, if we knew what we were going to do, but this is just a basic to let you know these are the things that can be done.
Got it. I would say with passes, if there could be a family pass, I think that would be really, really helpful, because it gets to be a lot if you have 5 or 7 folks in a family who each have to pay the rate, but maybe that's something we'll talk more about down the road. The other thing is, we're the consultants, so I looked at the SWOT analyses. I saw they did one and you all did one as well. It was nice to compare. I actually thought it was even better because we know it best. The thing that I didn't see in there and just wonder, was the consultant aware that we do have another pool? We do have another outdoor pool in the city of Troy. It's not public, but it is a pool to which a good number of, I don't know the percentage, that's a good question, I'd like to know that, to which residents are actually members, and how that then impacts that, the resident, non-resident kind of element. Were they aware of that? We have another pool in the city of Troy?
He did do research on the pools that are in the area. He brought up Red Oaks. He brought up, I don't know about, is it Beechwood, I think it is? Yeah, he didn't particularly bring up Beechwood, so I'm not 100% sure, but he did say he felt our facility had potential to grow.
Yeah, and so that then leads, so that's helpful to know what they knew or maybe not aware of, is I think so I don't have my tour yet due to vacation. I know we're gonna try to do that later in August and look forward to that. Is I think one thing that kind of took me by surprise, there's a lot of great information. The thing that kind of maybe surprised me is the undertone is very much about a water park, whereas, and it proposed like a lot of like great vision that I hope, we're not yet just gonna plow forward. I understand the passes maybe, but some of the vision, I think, yes, we need the tours, we need to talk as a council. Because I had to stop and think, do I see it as a water park? Is that how I've used it? And is this a new vision, a new way of creating it, or a new way of thinking about marketing it? And coming into meetings on council, a lot of what we've heard from city management was more about how to downsize it, or what would be ideal is move parts of it closer to the community center, whereas this is a drastically different vision. And I read this like, oh, this is really different from what I've been hearing all these years since I've been on council. So can you speak to that? Yeah,
so I think Dennis and myself and Morgan, when we went to the World Water Park Symposium, our view is that council is not really in a rush to get rid of this facility. So we wanted to see what we could do to create more revenue, to enhance the facility, rather than just knocking it down or closing it. His thought is the more revenue bring in, when you need things repaired, it's not an issue because you have more revenue coming in. So he feels it is a water park. I'm not the water park professional, he is, so I can only say what he feels. And, he feels that it could, and since we haven't implemented a ton, but we've implemented a few things like moving the gate, adding the Harvey stuff. Our attendance is up, so that's a plus. Whether it's all residents, the mixture between the two, I don't know. I don't have that right on me right now, but.
Yeah. No, because I'd be curious if we've seen a change in increase in residents vis-a-vis non-residents?
Yeah,
It's
I
always
mean, I
been
could get you
higher.
guys that report. We just finished the fiscal year, so, we usually try to base it on not the fiscal year, but the season, because each season is different, and look at the weather and look at, when comparing each season to figure out where the differences are. So probably we'll know more about that at the end of the season. We could give you more info once we can compare season to season.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you just for giving us a new vision to potentially think about, and then to, I think, cogitate as fiduciaries, like what would it mean to, in what position we're at to think about moving some of those things forward. Just my only plea and ask is, as we continue to move forward, is that we think about the time and place to enter to get the resident voice too, especially when it comes
absolutely.
to hours. Like those hours right now, although I like the all-inclusive pass, I have the indoor pool pass, and those hours are better for me. I need either early morning or after 6 o'clock when I'm back from work, and so those hours I wouldn't be able to do laps at. And that's actually, that was the other question I can ask in a Q&A was, is there any way to look at what are the primary uses why are people coming to the park? And maybe that is the not just resident, non-resident, the user engagement is those open-ended questions, because maybe we really don't have lap swimmers. Maybe it is amusement. People are coming to use the fun slides. That's often what I do. I bring my son and we meet friends and we love the slides. And maybe that's something also that would help us envision where do we focus our energy.
Yeah, and we do have the lap swim before open swim, and that is very popular. There's a lot of people there from 8 to 9:30. It's part of the hours thing is really because we have so many minors working at the facility, we have to work our hours around how many hours in a row they can work with needing breaks and lunches and all that stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it. We're open more now than we were in the past. And I know for some, 7 o'clock may seem like a drastic change, but really it's just a half hour compared to what it was. And we are seeing a lot more groups in the morning coming to use a facility like Salvation Army and groups like that. So we are getting more groups and camps coming in at the 10 o'clock time rather than opening at 11:30, because a lot of people wanted to be able to come swim before lunchtime. So that's what the requests were in the past.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep, no problem.
Councilman Gunn?
Just want to, again, thank you for the presentation. It definitely is a step in the right direction, making a lot of changes. I just want to clarify. So you said 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. During the week, and then the weekend 10 to 6?
Yes.
And you would then could potentially, did I understand correctly, rent out
Yes.
the pool at night? Has there been inquiries for that, or have you had success with that so far?
Yes, I know we have had quite a few. I'm not sure exactly how many. Morgan would know better than me, but we have had quite a few rentals. Friday nights, we do the family night every Friday from 7 to 9, so that's been successful. We could get you that number if you wanted on how many we've had this year. I don't have it right on me, though.
I just wondered, a lot of, anything that can increase revenue, I'm all for that. But
Right.
what do you have any numbers as terms of capacity of the use of the pool?
So I can get you numbers for how many we've had, but we've hit capacity, I think, 3 times this summer so far. So, and it's usually on a 95-degree day.
Oh, sure.
In the middle of the day on a Saturday that we hit it.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of, area to be able to expand on the park and get more people in. But it's the buy one, get ones are helping, because in the past on really cool days, we would have nobody there. Sure. So now at least when we do those, we try and plan it a day ahead, send out a message and try to get as many people in as we can. And that has helped. So, again, 3 times this year, that's probably about average 3 to 5 in a year.
Any thoughts or any exploration of possibly bringing in food trucks to alleviate? I realize, we're not getting the total revenue. Maybe we could charge a fee for them being there, and it would help with the staff and provide other options.
Yeah, that's an option. I think we'll start looking at that for sure during special events,
Sure.
because we don't really keep concessions open all the time on special events. And as far, I believe that they're doing better this year by adding the additional equipment and the staff.
Okay.
So I have not personally heard any complaints this year. That's not to say there isn't any. They just haven't gotten to me. But
Gotcha.
the pool staff there would know, so I could definitely ask them and find out.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you again. For
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Just one quick question. Do we have any idea of any specific numbers of how much additional revenue we would anticipate with some of these changes if they were implemented?
No, that's something we would, this is strictly just to give us options of what we would use. I have no intent of, we've done small things like name some amenities, change the entrance to the park, but we would not go and do anything else that's major without you guys and doing, community engagement before we consider doing anything like he's bringing up. This is just the basic to let you know what it could be. Not really, we've noticed some things that we can help, and that's what we're doing, the things that don't cost money, right? And we can improve on the park. So that's what we focused on. And, as far as going forward, I think that's something, down the road, we have to work with city management and figure out what way we want to go.
Councilman Hamilton.
Thank you. So what is the current non-resident and resident rate? I know the recommendation is 24 non, 15 resident, or have you
So
already
right now,
switched
it's
it?
20 and 12.
2012? Okay.
Yeah.
When do you plan to up it to what they recommended
We're hoping next summer.
next summer? Okay.
It's been since pretty much COVID that we have not raised it, so it's coming time to up the price.
Yeah, we've had
And
all
we
over
have a
the
lot of non-residents, so I don't feel, it doesn't seem to stop any of them, so I feel like if we can get the additional revenue, and really like with the season pass, if you want the cheaper rate, that's going to be the cheaper rate. And it's going to be cheaper than it is right now for a season pass. Even if you were, like Rebecca said, that the 4-person pass, which is a family pass right now, is like $325 or something, whereas this will be the $49.99 times 4 or the $69.99 times 4, whichever you want between the basic and upgraded.
If you do the all-inclusive, do you get access to the indoor pool all year? Or
Just during the summer.
Just
So
during
it's
the
strictly
summer.
summer
Okay.
pass. So even if you had a pass and you could drop it at the community center, a regular pass, and transfer to this for the summer and then go back to the other pass. So
Okay. And then, what's my other comment? We kind of touched a little bit on capital, some potential capital projects. I'm assuming as we get into more capital discussions as the fiscal year goes on, because I know this is the year of capital, that this will be part of the conversation, I'm hoping. There weren't any numbers in this report, which I understand. This is more aspirational. But I hope we keep that in mind as we talk about new amenities, or maybe there's ways we can add things that can be used all year and not just in the summer, but yeah, okay. That's all I got.
Councilman Chanda.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Hamilton kind of asked what I was going to ask. We didn't see any, capital numbers. Obviously, it's not an actual proposal. But I guess my question is, we already have a need for improving the facility, right? I think so. How does that play into? And I'm all for generating revenue. That's a wonderful idea, because in the long run we need to be profitable. So. Do you have any idea, like a ballpark number, even what would capital investment that we're looking at?
He had mentioned for the slide area, which there was a picture where it would kind of replace the kiddie area. There's just a ton of slides. It's about a ½ inch of water. He had mentioned it would be somewhere between $1 and $3 million. So that's what he said for that area. And again, that's just rough numbers that he happened to mention to me. I don't have anything in writing from him on that, but to me, the most important part of this really is the building and the concessions, because the locker rooms, we don't have a family locker room. So we just have a men and women's locker room, and that's one of the reasons that we use the gate now for entry, because we don't want to necessarily make people choose between locker room, and our staff has to walk if it's a mom there, our staff has to go and walk the son through the locker room. So it's something we really feel needs to be addressed in the future. And I think on your tour, you'll see the things that are necessities and the things that aren't, right? So I will definitely focus on the things, and we have done a lot too to it. So there's a lot that's been repaired already that, will make it last longer too. So it's not all bad news. There's still things that need to be replaced, but there's a lot that's already done too to extend the life of it.
Do we have any half-a-day pass? I haven't been there for a while, but I can't remember.
We used to do years ago when I ran it back eons ago. We used to have an evening pass, but we don't do that anymore because really they used to be open till like 8:30 back in the 2000s, and now we're only open till 7. So the pass started at 5. So no, we really don't. And that's very complicated, too, on capacity days, because then you have all these people coming at 5 that think they can get the cheaper pass, and we're already at capacity. So we've kind of learned from those mistakes in the past.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody good? This is a little bit backwards, but I'm realizing we have some new faces watching and probably wondering about this conversation. If I could, you touched on it. A couple years back, we were talking about capital needs for the Aquatic Center, and it provoked a huge response from the community to make sure that we look after the Aquatic Center. A plea to City Council and City Administration at that time to make sure that we look at it, that we invest in it, that we evolve it. And it is good to hear that since that discussion and the council at that time said, yes, we don't want to be shutting down the Aquatic Center. We don't want to lose this amenity. This is a valuable amenity to the community. And some of the investments have been made, capital-wise, as you just said. And it is good to see and hear that you reached out to experts in the field to look at, how do we protect and evolve this amenity. So that's a bit of background for those who may be catching up with this. I think we had 80 residents writing in and calling in. It was back when we were Zooming because of COVID, and we had some long evenings of heartfelt feedback. Personally, I'm all about the to-be slide, so I completely understood where my fellow residents were coming from, especially in terms of families and residents. So this is actually really good to see this conversation. It does sound like some ideating. Yes, you did some actionable work this year, but we're going to need to be continuing to work with you. Again, for background for those watching, we are scheduled as council members for tours of the Aquatic Center to see and understand its current state. So we are well positioned to help make solid decisions going forward. There was an era where our recreation department was very much pressured from a policy setting standpoint to break even or even make a profit on what it provides to the community. And I think we've had council saying to you that that's an era we want to move. We do need to provide recreation services. That is one of the roles of a local government. And that we want to prioritize our residents as we go forward. So I would be interested in the information, more information about the rentals in the evening, who that is, and it's that bringing in money versus shutting our residents out of an amenity that means so much to them. I want to guard against, personally, I want to guard against that, and I think I shouldn't speak for all my council members, but I'm sure they would have the same feedback as we talk to residents. That said, if if there is opportunity, our residents are also taxpayers and want us to do our fiscal best with the facility, and it sounds like you're trying to take all of that into account. I guess I want to give you a second to be able to speak to that.
We are, this is our first summer really pushing the rentals. In the past, we have done rentals, but we haven't really gone out to try to get them. So that's where the 3 full-time people come in better, because we have staff that can focus on that part of it, like birthday parties, rentals, things like that. This year, I know we've had some. I don't know if it's a ton, but, again, we got this back in March, April, so we didn't have a lot of time in between. So, it's possible with advertising it all year long this summer and next year that we may be able to increase those as well.
Okay.
So that's our hope.
And all that said, the engagement with our residents, this is a great piece of feedback from experts that can give this an objective view, but that view of our residents going forward as we help and continue to make decisions is really, really important, and it sounds like that's factored into your plan.
Yeah, when he was here, he made it clear that this is just a phase 1 beginning to, give you an idea of what it could be. This isn't like I said, he's saying this is what you could be someday. And he said, if we went into phase 2, they could help us, and that would include the community engagement to find out exactly what should be put in. It might not be additional slides, might not be a play structure, but, that can be up to the public what they want there. But this is just telling us there are opportunities to add on or fix things that need to be fixed and create additional revenue while doing it. So.